when the Olympics do take place this summer, it won't be the only big event involving amateur boxers from around the world to take place in London. In fact, for the last few years, a tournament's been taking place, I think, mostly at the Ali Pali. I might be corrected in a moment, but mostly they take place at the Ali Pali. It's called the Haringey Box Cup, and I think for the last 4 years we've previewed it in some way, shape or form on this show. It's had a lot of top boxers have been part of it. I think Anthony Joshua has been in it, and there's been hundreds, probably thousands of boxers have taken part in it over the last few years. I know that Chris Eubank Jr. was in it last year. Well, my understanding is that it's about to run into some financial problems, funding problems, and I'm not quite sure how threatened its very existence is, but I do know a man who does know, and that man, thankfully, is on the line now. It's Ken Marsh, who I believe is an MBE. Is it MBE, Ken?
That's correct, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like to get all of that pageantry stuff out of the way first of all. Ken, what is the state of play with the Haringey Box Cup this year?
Well, the state of play, Steve, is pretty straightforward. For the last 4 years, we've been very fortunate that the local authority, Haringey Safe Communities, and the police have chipped in a large amount towards it, i.e. the rental costs for Ali Pali. Ali Pali in itself is a huge cost just for the 4 days. We do get a reduction on the 4 days, being obviously police, but it's still a large cost. The bill alone for Ali Pali comes in at tens of thousands.
Wow.
And then we found the rest of the money from private sponsorship that I go out and get from all sorts of helpers in the city and around. But we've been hit with this bill from all funding from local authority and the police has ceased completely.
Wow. So what sort of money? I mean, can you say the figure that you're now short? That you find yourself short? Short.
The bill for Ali Pali is £30,000. Now, obviously, the total cost to put the event on runs at about 55. I find the rest, or have done for the last.
But it's that 30,000 that stumped you, Ken.
It's 30,000 at the moment. Obviously, I'm actively seeking from all sorts of areas. I'm having to be quite good at going out and speaking with people. Have been very generous to us. They've come forward and said, "Look, we want this to be on." So we've had pledges of 3,000 already over the last week.
Okay.
We just.
But it's hard to do it with 1,500s and 2,000s. As commendable and admirable and almost heroic as that is of those people that are offering you that money, it's still hard to fill a £30,000 gap. Plus, if you're going to those people, those are the people that really could have been filling the other 25,000 that you need to top up. First of all, Ken, tell me a little bit more about the tournament, the amount of years it's been going, how many boxers from around the world. So I know you have men, women, everything, schoolboys, the whole lot. Tell us a bit about it.
We've been running for the last 4 years, and basically what we do is a 4-day event. The Thursday, it's an open box cup, so it's the biggest open box cup tournament in Europe.
Wow.
It's a 4-day event. Now, we can't box on the Friday because we weren't allowed to be licensed for 4 days of boxing for understandable reasons. So what we did was we built in a youth diversion day into the Friday where across the 32 boroughs of London, we bring in all the kids who haven't got anything from all the schools, south of the river, north of the river, break down all the knife crime and all the postcodes, get all the local providers in, get Tottenham Hotspurs, Arsenal, the Army, all the Met providers, all the Transport for London, just give them a day and a packed lunch. So we did the quarterfinals on the Thursday, Open Pan London Day on the Friday, semis on the Saturday, finals on the Sunday.
So Ken, excuse me, but I can't quite get my head. Just tell me again why the funding stopped. I mean, you've not been targeted. It's some sort of cross-funding, end to cross-funding. But why? Why? Well, have you been given a reason?
Right, no, all Metropolitan Police funding for this sort of thing just ceased. It was joint partnership funding from a thing called Safe Communities in Haringey Council and the Met Police did joint funding for community effective things within the borough. All that under the budgetary restraints, it was the easiest thing across the board to just bang. We lost a lot in one foul swoop, basically.
Oh, it's quite staggering. So if you're listening and you've heard what Ken said there, Ken, on this inclusive day you have on the Friday, how many people do you have at that? How many people come from all parts of London? Gut feeling.
Last year we brought 500 kids in from all over London. our plan this year was to bring 1,000 because it was the Olympic year. We budgeted for 500 packed lunches because we don't want them to have to spend money. We want to give them a packed lunch.
Of course, we want to feed them.
We want them to be inclusive.
So Ken, have you spoken to any of the Olympic people? I mean, have you jumped onto any of these legacy, all of these people that keep talking boldly and bravely about legacy? Have you spoken to anybody?
Steve, I've spoken and spoken and spoken until I'm blue in the face, and it is so disappointing that they just don't recognise. I mean, one of the things that really gets me, Steve, is this is the borough where everything kicked off last August.
Yeah.
This is the borough where...
It is where it all started.
Yeah, it's an underprivileged area. We're trying to do something which is... They talk about legacy, and one of the biggest things that really sticks in my throat with the Olympics is that they're spending £36 million on bunting and banners.
Yeah.
Well, all I want is 25k, and that's the difficulty.
And you know what, Ken? I've got to tell you something. There's a growing army of people around this country who are saying the same thing. Whether they run a boxing gym, whether they run a swimming club, whether they run a track and field club, they're saying the same thing. I need 11 grand, and you're spending 30 million on banners. Yeah. I need £75,000 to keep this going and get 90 people in a night, and you're spending millions and trillions. Yeah. It's quite. I've got no problem with security money. I've got no problem with stadium money. No. But I've got problems with some of the non-Olympic sport-specific stuff, like the bunting, that type of stuff, that's driving me to distraction.
Yeah, but the thing is, Steve, I try to be positive, and I know there's decent people out there. There are people out there. There could be company directors listening right now. All they've got to do is come on haringeyboxingclub.com.
Yep.
You can donate there and then. We have a donate button. You'd be surprised how many people genuinely out there who could hear this and say, we'll be part of that. There's advertising wrapped into it if they want advertising. There's all sorts of things we can do for partnership stuff to make you look good in our borough and across London. It's about coming together.
And if you are listening and you are thinking about it, contemplating, if you're only thinking about donating a goodish lump sum, okay, providing it's good enough, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to sell space on it for nothing because I can't sell it because it's the BBC, but you donate a good lump, I get you on here and you can tell me why you're doing it, Ken. I'll do that for you. It's not a problem.
You're a star. It's haringeyboxingclub.com, Steve. But,
brilliant.
It's worthwhile. And when you come there and you see these lads and lassies' faces that we're putting this on for, and they come up to us and they embrace us and say, please make sure it's still on next year. That's why I'm knocking my nuts off for it.
Listen, Ken, that's a fantastic quote to leave you on. I'm not even going to apologise for that because I particularly like it. I might use that again as my payoff. Ken, thanks very much. And also, Ken, if people didn't get what you said, they can come onto my Twitter, which is quite simple, @BigDaddyBuns, if you fancy keeping this fantastic boxing event, the largest in Europe going. They need £30,000, okay? I'm not even sure what percentage that is of the 35 million it's going to cost to have a few lovely banners draped over parts of East London where there won't even be any runners. There won't even be any marathon runners there. There'll be just lovely banners. Wouldn't you have rather read the marathon runners than the lovely banners?